What's up, dudes and dudettes? All you awesome people! Welcome to the Geeky Heathen channel. I am Glen, aka the Geeky Heathen. Here with, finally, the video I've been meaning to do all year. The video I've been meaning to get around to. Book review. No idea as to why I clapped like book review. I've watched too many meme reviews. Too much meme couch. But this is the video I've been meaning to get on with. I have been procrastinating. I have been putting this video off because I am doing a book review on my favourite fantasy series of all time, Robert Jordan's The Wheel of Time. Starting off with book 1, The Eye of the World. Oh yeah. Let's start this book review. The wheel of time turns and ages come and go, leaving memories that fade to legend. Legend becomes myth, and even myth is long forgotten when the age that gave it birth comes again. In the third age, an age of prophecy, the world and time themselves hang in the balance. What was, what will be, and what is may yet fall under the shadow. What an intro to a book, right? So, The Eye of the World, this is a classical fantasy book. The Wheel of Time itself, this series may put off some readers because this series is 14 books long. And they're not all short books, they're pretty long. But it is an amazing series. I love the series. I like the magic system throughout the series, but we're not here to judge the series, not here to talk about the large cast of characters throughout the series. This video is a review. It is a spoiler-free review for book 1, The Eye of the World. And as I said, this is a classical fantasy book. I would be no spoilers for this book review. Going forward from book 2 onwards, I will probably include either a small spoiler section at the end of the review or a separate video. You can leave me some comments down below and let me know what you'd rather see. But for this video, this is completely spoiler free. No spoilers at all. I won't even talk about the plot line. I won't talk about the characters. I won't talk about anything like that. I'll just talk about whether I think this is a good book. I'll give you my scoring for this book and just general talking about the book. This is why this video has been so difficult for me. It's because I'm trying to not give any spoilers about the book. I'd like people to read the book and have an understanding of what's going on first themselves before I can give them a review. So it is a classical fantasy, or a high fantasy it's often described as, and there's a lot of fantasy tropes in this. So this is your stereotypical fantasy book. There's nothing spectacular about this book 1. Book 1 is just a good classical fantasy. If you're into classical fantasy and high fantasies, then this is a good book. It follows a good journey, good versus evil, nothing spectacular. The magic system isn't really detailed too much in this first book. There is good magic system in there, and it is pretty good. One thing I will say, going back to reading this book after reading the series, I am amazed at the foreshadowing. The amount of foreshadowing that has been put into this one book is absolutely unbelievable. The world that Robert Jordan has created, he has created so well, and this book opens you up to that world. This book follows your classical fantasy storyline, good versus evil, following a group of characters throughout this world on their heroic journey to save this world. Now, if I was to rate this book, because without going into spoilers, I'll just go straight into rating. If I was to rate this book by itself, a standalone book, book 1, I probably wouldn't rate this too high. In the series itself I rate very highly, but the book itself I would probably rate it a 7 out of 10 or a 7.5 out of 10. It is, like I say, it is a good classical fantasy book. I was quite engrossed the whole way through. A lot of people who do read it find the beginning to be slow reading and then it's pick up about a quarter of the way through. I myself thoroughly enjoyed it. I like his writing style. I like the way you get to know these characters and you feel an emotional attachment to these characters from the beginning. It is so well written, and the world detailing is unbelievable. It doesn't feel Like some fantasy books, I've noticed when they are creating a world, they feel like they're giving you a tome of history books. It feels like you have to go and do a history lesson, like a lesson at school. They're like, read this, and then we'll start the book. It's like, what? This is written so well that you discover this whole world throughout the journey. And also he has these things called gleemen or bards, and they tell tales and stories and songs, and you learn about the world through them, as opposed to be given a whole history book of, you need to know about this king at this time and this period and this queen, this monarch, this land. And it doesn't feel like you're studying a history lesson. It flows very naturally, and I like that. It was one of the first fantasy books I got into, and I'm going to do a video soon of my top 10 fantasy books to get you into fantasy, or for a beginner's guide to fantasy, if that makes sense. And this is probably going to be on the list. I'm not too sure yet. I'll be doing that in the next few weeks or the next month or so. I'll be putting a list together and getting some details together for that. I don't want to make this review too long. I want this to be a short review because there's going to be no spoilers in it. That's why it's going to be so short. Just giving you my general 7 out of 10. I'll stick with 7 out of 10. 7 out of 10 for this book. If you do like fantasy, this is a good read and you will enjoy it. If you're new to fantasy, you will enjoy this. It is a good read. Bear in mind though, if you have been reading fantasy your whole life and you're a connoisseur of fantasy, shall we say, then this is a classical fantasy. There is nothing spectacular about it. It is just your generic, I would say, it's a generic fantasy story from beginning to end. But it's the start of an amazing journey throughout this world that Robert Jordan has created, and I would highly recommend that you do read it and then you carry on, because for me this series only gets better as the series goes on. This first book, I would say, is possibly the weakest book in the series, but still an amazing read. And if you do like fantasy, you will like this book anyway, especially if you do like your high fantasy, your classical fantasy, then I would say you will like this book because it is a good book. And you can probably just read this book as a standalone book, though you'd want to read the series. It's very good but very long. Be prepared for that. I have read this series my whole life. It's one of my go-to series. It's what I grew up on. I have had it all in paperback. I've got most of the hardbacks. I'm currently getting it on audio as well, so I can listen to it whilst I'm working and then be prepared for doing these book reviews, which I put off for so long, but I'm glad I put them on. I'm glad I started it now, and I hope you enjoy this book review. If you do, comment down below, let me know, and you can also leave me a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video. If you didn't enjoy the video though, feel free to leave me a thumbs down. If you want to help support this channel, you can check out my Patreon site, and you can become a patron from as little as $1 a month, and you get access to Patreon-only videos and also Patreon-only giveaways, which will be coming in the future. But if you're new here, as also, why not subscribe down below? Whilst you're there, smash that bell icon so you can be notified each and every time I upload. I'm Geeky Heathen. As always, much love. Until next time, stay awesome.